Hi, and welcome to the Hoop Scoop. I'm probably right. With the NBA closing out its regular season, it's time to talk playoffs, positions, and matchup. However, I cannot think of a time in memory where this late in the season, the NBA playoff positionings has been in such a flux. So much so that there is literally one team in the whole NBA, East and West, that has solidified their position, meaning they cannot be moved out of that spot. And that is the Boston Celtics holding the number one spot in the East. So with that being said, we're going to pivot a bit and talk about some other teams that have also solidified their spots. These teams are locked out of the NBA playoffs. No chance of getting in, no chance of the play-in. Starting in the East, we have the Detroit Pistons, dead last in the East, dead last in the league. Detroit set an NBA record of longest losing streak. Detroit has lost 27 consecutive games. This is more games than the team have won, winning just 13 total games while losing 67. Detroit is coached by Monty Williams. I have to say, I'm surprised by how poorly this team has performed this season. This is a young group that Monty Williams is coaching, so we'll chop this up to growing pains. But there is hope for this team. Like I said, this is a young group, but a talented core of guys, such as Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jason Durant. Detroit also has the number one overall pick in the NBA's 2024 draft. Detroit also has a second pick at 51. The mock drafts has Detroit picking the young Frenchman, Alex Sarr. Alex plays in the NBL in Australia, and I haven't seen enough to be sure that he will impact the team next year, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving right along, we have the Washington Wizards, another team that has a losing streak longer than the amount of games won. The Wizards has a losing streak of 16 while winning a total of 15 games and losing 66. Like the Pistons, the Wizards have the second overall pick in the NBA draft. They also have another first round pick at 26 and a second round pick at 49. Let's hope for a successful draft for the Wizards and see if they can move the needle in a positive direction. Still in the East, we have the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets have been in the toilets for a while now, with a win-loss record of 20-60, has not made it to the playoffs since 2016. That's almost a decade. And we're talking about playoffs. With the arrival of LaMelo Ball, how he played in his first and second season, a lot of fans were hopeful. However, LaMelo Ball has been largely unavailable. Let's list the games played by LaMelo Ball so far in his career. He's been in the NBA for 4 years. The first year, LaMelo Ball played 31 games. The second year in the league, LaMelo Ball played 75 games. But the third year, LaMelo Ball played 36 games. And this year, LaMelo Ball has played a total of 22 games, with Brandon Miller coming into his own and the fourth overall draft pick, along with the 42nd pick in the second round and a healthy LaMelo Ball. Hopefully, we see a positive shift for Charlotte. Next, we have the Toronto Raptors. I was surprised by the fall off of the Raptors this year. Those were good trades that they made in the beginning of the season, but I'm guessing not good enough since they didn't even make it to the play-in. This team has a win-loss record of 25-55, and another team with a losing streak of 14 of the 15 games they played in March. Luckily for Toronto, they have two early first-round picks, the 6th and the 19th, and an early second-round pick at 30. Toronto fans, if we have any that are listening, please go and get Zach Edey with your 6th pick, because contrary to the projections of the mock draft, I don't see him being there at 19, and I definitely don't see him being there at 30, but it's your chance to take. And lastly, in the East, we have the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets were in contention for a while, but also had a bad March, losing about 9 games. And this pretty much sealed their fate outside of the playoff, no shot at the play-in. The Nets have a win-loss record of 32-48 at the time of this recording. If you are a Brooklyn Nets fan, I apologize in advance. The Nets have no picks in the first round and no picks in the second round. Trust me, I quadruple check. I have to ask, What did the Nets get for Kevin Durant? And what in the hell did the Nets get for Kyrie from the Magic? Nets fans, for you, I hope that you guys have a big cap space and can lure some key free agents. But I would say, given your track record, stay away from the big superstars. Let's mosey on over to the West. Dead last in the West is none other than your San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. This team is much better than its 20 wins and 60 losses. The Spurs has the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. They also have 2 picks in the 2nd round at 34 and 45. I am not worried about the Spurs at all. This year, with Pop playing Wemby on restricted minutes, I don't expect to see that next year, but fully expect to see them in contention in the playoffs next year. Next, we move on to the Portland Trailblazers with a win-loss record of 21 and 58. I expected a little better from the Blazers. I know they lost Damian. That was everything. I just figured the sum of their parts would be greater than just Damian Lillard, but how wrong was I? I have to speak on DeAndre Ayton. I'm disappointed by his performance this year. I fully expected him to go to Portland and show out, show what he's made of, and prove everyone in the Valley of the Sun wrong. But Portland fans, your Trailblazers have 2 first-round picks, the 5th overall, and again, picking at 13th. They also have 2 early second-round picks at 33 and 40. So hopefully there's something in the draft to help them look a good bit better next season than they looked this season. Let's move on to the Memphis Grizzlies. Mr. We Are Fine in the West is not even contending for the play-ins. Ja has been hurt or suspended for most of the season, and other Grizzly players also missed time this year due to injuries. With Memphis having an early first-round pick at 7 and 2 second-round picks at 39 and 56, we expect to see Memphis back in contention next year, having all of their pieces back, especially Ja, and being just fine in the West. Next up, we have the Utah Jazz with a win record of 29 and 50. I can honestly say I do not know this team. I don't know if this team is coming or going. I don't know if this team is in rebuild mode or what. I just don't know this team. They did hold on to Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Claxton, so I'm guessing it's not a total rebuild. The Jazz has 2 first-round picks at number 8 and 28. They also have an early second-round pick at 32. So here's hoping to see more out of Utah Jazz next season. And last but not least, we have the Houston Rockets. I thought maybe Houston would make some noise having that young core together for another year and adding the pieces they added in the offseason. Houston has a win-loss record of 39 and 40 at the time of this recording. So it's very likely they can be a 500 team now. The Rocket has a first-round pick at number 9 and a second-round pick at 44. Let's see if those picks will be able to move the needles for the Houston Rockets, and we see them in the playoffs next season. And that wraps up the NBA bottom dwellers from the East and the West. Let me know your thoughts. If your team were in the bottom dwellers group, how do you feel about the future of your team? Do you feel like this draft selection will move the needle for your team, or you feel like it will be much of the same? As always, comment, like, and I will take a moment to ask that you please consider subscribing to help us grow the channel. See you in the next video.